So I'm sitting here with Tom Huckabee. We're talking about the Big Bear Film Festival and amazing films that you've had out, and you can watch a whole lot of films, can't you, Tom?
On the Big Bear Film Summit, absolutely, yeah. A lot of fantastic stuff, programmed by a great friend of mine, Gabriel Horn. And I can't wait to start watching them. I heard about a good one, a short film based on Hellboy that I'm looking forward to seeing. Most of the films I am not real familiar with, except the ones that have been made by people I know, like Amadeus, the cartoon, takeoff of Amadeus by Brian Massey and Joe Brooks.
Yeah, I just watched that short, and if no one's seen the Amadeus movie, they won't get it because there's a lot of great scenes that he's imitated in there.
Yeah, the songs are fantastic. Joe is a professional songwriter and guitar player. I think he made his bones playing with Tiffany, the 80s star, if you remember her. And Brian and Joe have done two other series that you can see on their websites. One called Oh Bubba, that's kind of like Beavis and Butthead, and then VO the Show, which is a sitcom about voiceover actors, which is really wonderful.
It's called VO the Show? We're just using it as reference, as a visual.
Oh, great.
Wow, that looks almost like the Simpsons quality there.
It does. The animation is very much like the Simpsons.
Interesting. Anyway,
but
he does these
takes place in Hollywood, like on streets that I used to live on, and I even recognize buildings and stuff.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So it's all in the Hollywood area where these locations are. He draws them and does that comedy.
Yeah, Joe lives in Hollywood. Brian lives in Fort Worth.
And VO, how did it become VO the Show? He just took raw VO and started putting animation.
It's because Brian makes a really good living moonlighting as a voiceover actor on anime films.
I see.
Yeah, so he really knew the territory. And then Joe is the animator, and they write them together. And they're really funny.
Wow. Now, tell me a little bit about Taking Tiger Mountain. That's one of the Film Summit submissions. Yeah.
Well, it's hard to tell you a little bit about Taking Tiger Mountain. Do you have about 16 hours?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we were going to do weren't we going to do or did you do the audio commentary? Did you ever get around doing that?
I did. I didn't do an audio commentary. I attempted it, but it kind of failed because most of the people that I would have done it with, to work off of, are either have ridden on ahead or were just upriver, literally in Laos. And my co-director, Kent Smith, that's what I heard where he was. And so there was just hardly anybody to do it with me. But anyway, what we did do was a very long or extensive, thorough video interview that George Wada shot. George also has a film in the Big Boy Summit, Big Bear Summit. And but yeah, so, and there's commentary. So before you watch the original version of the film, there's commentary about the making of the original Taking Tiger Mountain, which came out in 1983. And then there's commentary introducing Taking Tiger Mountain Revisited, which you yourself, Logan Gilpin, co-edited. Which was somewhere in between a remake and reboot. So redo. It's what we did was everything that we couldn't do in 1983 to make the movie we wanted to make. So after 30 years of putting up with it as not quite a successful thing, it had leaked out to the internet, really bad quality bootlegs. got an offer from this company specializes in releasing films from the 70s, and yeah, so I used the seed money that they gave me. This is when Bill was still living. He was excited about it finally coming out on video. We had withheld putting it on video up until that point because none of us who the principals in making the film had been entirely satisfied with it. It had had a brief theatrical run in 1983 at art theaters across America. But yeah, there were just issues with it. And we got to resolve most of those, partly due to your expertise as a digital editor, and Calder Kleblin, our other digital editor, took over when you got busy. And it's now a film that I love to watch. And being 65 years old this year, I consider myself an expert movie watcher. And value my opinion highly. And where this film in the original version, Taking Tiger Mountain, there were long sections where I'd become annoyed. That's no longer the case. There's a shot that we added, and there's an effect we added, and there's set dressing we added, and there's a video that we added of Brian Massey. Yeah, so you can see just about every shot. There's that color poster, that butterfly. This must be the trailer.
Yes, this is the trailer.
Okay, so it's got highlights and things, but every shot, we did something to it, either in the sound or the picture, or oftentimes both.
And you were there for the actual shooting, or the actual production, or were you in and out intermittently?
The filming production started in 1974, and I was not there. I was still in high school. Bill, who had graduated a year before me, and we'd been making Super 8 films together in Fort Worth. He had an opportunity to go to Hollywood, wanted me to come with him, and it was like, I'm still in high school. And so he went on out there, started getting work immediately, and got a job with Encyclopedia Britannica Films, who were one of the main producers of educational films at the time, which was a big deal. People that grew up in my era were often once or twice a week forced to sit and watch one of these, generally really bad, educational movies. But Kent Smith made good educational movies, mostly about historical things and mythological things. And so he graduated from UCLA Film School. I think he may have been in the first graduating class, and same class that The Doors, Jim Morrison and Ray Manzarek were in. I think maybe Francis Coppola, John Carpenter. A lot of people went on to pretty quick stardom. And Kent felt like he was stuck at this, company. It was a prestigious company, but, he wasn't making features, which is what he wanted to do. And the films that he loved were the European films of the time, Ingmar Bergman, Federico Fellini. Also, as far as Americans, he loved Orson Welles. He liked iconoclastic filmmaking, Pasolini, Stanley Kubrick. And I think it was Kubrick that where Bill's taste that ran more towards Hollywood films. He loved Clint Eastwood and Buster Keaton, particularly, Sam Peckinpah. They kind of joined their sensibilities together, but they did both love Stanley Kubrick. And that was something that all three of us, anyway, they shot most of the footage that's used in the film in '74 in Los Angeles, London, and Wales, primarily in the outback of Wales, the boondocks, as far away as you can get from a big city. They kind of took this little area by storm and made the people think that they were a real Hollywood production. It was just two of them, but they ended up casting and crewing amongst the villagers. And in that respect, it has a little bit of the feel of like The Wicker Man and Village of the Damned, of black and white arty horror films from England in the 70s and 60s. They shot in black and white for two reasons. One, I think that Kent believed that black and white was more artful, and but also that they had the footage all came from the movie Lenny, the leftovers, outtakes that they purchased at auction, and a lot of the reels were just 100 feet long, 50 feet long, and subsequently there was problems with the raw footage that I had to deal with as the editor to make these. If you remember, there's these very funny static, not funny, but bothersome static electricity effects that we tried to make sense in the film. But originally, when Kent first saw the material, and I actually saw the material when he saw it, when it arrived in Hollywood. Bill had gone on to get a job with Jonathan Demme on this great classic B-movie starring Cloris Leachman called Crazy Mama, in which he had his first Hollywood line. And I don't think anybody at the time knew he had starred in a film where, where he was on the screen the whole time. I think people just thought he was a set dresser who wanted to be an actor, and then I think most people didn't even really know, and a lot of people still don't know this movie exists.
Yeah.
But all the reviews that have come out, after this version was released, remark about how fantastic Bill was at this young age, as at 19, where he didn't really start catching fire in Hollywood, even though he was going to every audition he could.
Yeah, you could almost say it was like he was a natural, because this is pre any education on acting.
That's right. Later, he went and studied with Stella Adler, the toughest acting coach in the world, who would chase students down the street screaming at them, "You'll never be an actor."
Now, let me ask you something. Like, now, if someone doesn't know what the film's about, and they go, well, there's these multiple versions. Which version should I watch, and what is it about? I've only seen two versions. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the two versions, the plot is the same. The two versions that exist. The film they went to shoot, which was called Taking Tiger Mountain, and that comes, Kent, who's the primary writer, lifted the title from a revolutionary Chinese opera, which was about an actual battle during the Chinese Revolution in the late 40s, early 50s, which is now a big action film. So people I have gotten compliments from strangers just writing me to say that they loved my movie Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy, but they're talking about the Chinese action film. But anyway, but the title has a certain mystique and pedigree because Brian Eno, the great experimental rocker who produced a lot of David Bowie, U2 films, videos, records, and put out 3 of the most adventuresome, best rock records himself in the early, late 70s, middle 70s, one of them called Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy. So there, people always wondered if there was an association or if we had lifted it from Brian Eno, and the answer is no, we stole it from the same place he did. But I didn't have anything to do with the naming of it, nor, and the script was about something entirely different. The original story, they all star Bill, was about a young man who's kidnapped, a tourist, an American tourist who goes to a remote section of Wales and is kidnapped in order to be traded or sent into sex slavery. But it, even though it had that sort of B-movie exploitation plot line, and it was also loosely based on the kidnapping of J. Paul Getty III, that the story eventually became a movie a couple of years ago. Ridley Scott made it about the grandson of the richest man in the world who was kidnapped and held for ransom. So that was what their story was about. However, Kent was very much influenced by Jean Cocteau and Federico Fellini and experimental filmmakers, JeanLuc Godard, that didn't feel a necessity of telling a conventional. In fact, their raison d'etre was to make films that were not conventionally plotted. And so he utilized a lot of their concepts about how to make a movie. And so essentially, when I received first saw the footage, there was 10 hours of film that they shot before they ran out of film. And it should be said that they only were able to shoot about 2/3 of their script before they ran out of money. And then they went back to Hollywood in '75. That's when I saw it. And I don't even think Bill saw the footage. He had gone on. I don't think that he thought that much would come out of it. I don't think he thought it would ever be finished. And Kent tried for years to raise the money and was not successful. And I was in my last year at school at the University of Texas looking for something ambitious to do. I wanted to make a feature. I wanted to leave, graduate, and go back to Hollywood with a feature under my belt. I thought that would be a way of jumping past, I had worked as a PA for a year and didn't love it and really wanted to make my own movies. So I thought that would be a good gambit. I talked Ken into leasing me the footage, I think for $1. And it all arrived in a bunch of giant boxes, and I started going through it, looking for the best parts, and using his script as a guide, even though he didn't record any dialogue. It had a lot of dialogue sequences, but he didn't record the dialogue. He shot MOS.
Wow.
I didn't get around to telling you why it's in black and white, and that's because they bought all the leftovers from the film Lenny.
Lenny. Okay.
Yes, the great Bob Fosse film about Lenny Bruce.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So you can see that tells you how old the footage was right there.
Yeah. No kidding. Oh, of course. And getting that cheap footage and doing that. Now, when you did, what was the other movie that they're doing on Big Bear? Is it Carried Away or is it another?
Oh no. Well, it's Reach, Martini Ranch Reach, which is a short film, ostensibly, it began life as a music video for a short-lived band that Bill had with Andrew Todd. It was a dance band, kind of a techno dance band. Much the guys from Devo played on the album, as well as Cindy Wilson from the B-52s and Mark Isham, the film composer. A lot of great guest stars that they had, and they did this very professional album, and they had gotten their deal by making a video. So they never played live, and they weren't really capable of playing live. They were conceived as a video band because it was the heyday of MTV. Well, anyway, when they decided what their single would be from the new album called Holy Cow, they decided it would be Reach, which was Ennio Morricone spaghetti western dance song about an outlaw in the Old West being chased by vigilantes or a posse. So Bill came to me about helping write the story, and we ended up adapting a screenplay that Bill and I had written together called Lonesome Cowgirls, Amazons of the Wild West. And Bill had already gotten his friend Jim Cameron to agree to direct the video. Jim said he'd direct it as long as he didn't have to take any meetings with anyone in a suit, which meant that as long as Bill was in charge, meaning that Bill and Jim would be in charge together, that they didn't have to take anybody's ideas they didn't want to take. You know, he would make this movie and he'd make it for free. And in fact, he ended up sinking some money in it, not close to the amount of money that Bill sank into it. Bill also brought me in as the line producer, which I had never done. So for 4 days in Newhall, California in July 1986, we just shot the hell out of this set called the Belize Ranch, which had been built for the movie Extreme Prejudice by Walter Hill. It was a drug war.
Where was the picture that was behind you? Where did they take that on set? Was that behind?
That's at Belize Ranch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the picture that we shot is by a great rock and roll photographer named Chris Cafaro, who was on the set, who a couple of years ago put out a book of pictures from the set, which are amazing. The reason that I love to show it with Taking Tiger Mountain is that they are both post-apocalyptic feminist thrillers starring Bill Paxton, pursued by feminists, to one degree or another. The other idea is, that I think I was always fascinated by the post-apocalyptic genre, and so a lot of projects that I worked on or that I created, were set in that kind of world. And the new film that I want to make is actually a post-apocalyptic utopian film as opposed to dystopian film. These two are both dystopian. And to wrap up this line, think of it, try to watch Reach, which is only 8 minutes, and is a comedy, before you watch Tiger Mountain, which is like 78 minutes and a very heavy thriller, experimental thriller, a little bit of humor. But that I like to think that what's going on in Wales in Taking Tiger Mountain is happening at the exact same time that Bill's character is being chased through the desert by a feminist posse in America.
Yes.
So it's all part of, and indeed I have you know, gleam in my eye about making. I have 4 other feature films that take place at the same time in the same milieu with the same themes that I would like to do, plus a TV series.
Yeah, no kidding. And that was the other thing, you know, with Gabriel and the Big Bear Film Festival and Ghost Breakers and all those different facets. He's Alchemy, the Gold Alchemy. And can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, Gold Alchemy is the co-op. It's an artistic arts and entertainment co-op. And you can go to goldalchemy.org, and you'll find that there are so far 7 members of the co-op, which we call alchemists. I'm one, you're one, Gabe is one. It's kind of a non-secret society, sort of. Only reason it'd be secret is just there's not enough people gotten around to seeing it. But yeah, there you go, right there. Show them our mission statement. That's an important part. I think if you go, no, I think you just roll down. Yeah, right there. It's short, the mission statement. It was just that paragraph, wasn't it? Yeah. Gold Alchemy is an association of multidisciplined artists, technicians, and producers dedicated to the evolution of human consciousness through art and entertainment. And all you have to do is swear allegiance to that idea, and you can be an alchemist.
Yes, lots of different projects too. And it gets into the VR and the music and the promos and events.
Yeah, and yeah, show them your page. Logan's master of virtual reality. We're hopefully going to be working together on this film that I want to make in Houston.
Yeah,
called Merge.
PBS here recently did a really great take on what, you know, immersive theater, immersive experiences. And yeah, and I think that Merge, yeah, go ahead and explain a little bit more about Merge.
Well, Merge takes place 100 years in the future in the utopian city-state of Houston, Texas, which has seceded from Texas because Texas is seceded from the Union. And Texas is the new capital of the new Confederacy. And so the people of Houston have seceded from the new Confederacy to start their own city-state. And it's a utopian socialist republic based on the ideas of Plato mixed with Bernie Sanders. And it's a great place to live, and they are the capital of arts and entertainment in the 100 years in the future. And the story takes place during the annual Olympiad of performance art. It's kind of like the Edinburgh Fringe Festival or crossed with South by Southwest. So all these performance groups come from all over the world to compete. So it takes place over that week. Meanwhile, there is some social upheaval going on because the imps, illegal mutant persons, are escaped slaves from the new Confederacy that are living in the nooks and crannies of Houston as illegal immigrants, because Houston has fought 2 wars with the new Confederacy, both of which they won. But since they're surrounded by the new Confederacy, they've made a deal to not allow the slaves, to not give them citizenship. So the slaves that are bioengineered creatures are living as sort of a pariah, parasitic group in the tunnels, and they, you know, come out at night and prey on the citizens, but nobody ever gets hurt. So there's a kind of symbiosis that's created until the queen of the imps steals a human baby. And that plot device might be recognized by some Shakespearean fans, because something like that happens at the very beginning of A Midsummer Night's Dream, when one of the fairy queen kidnaps a human baby. And indeed, it is based on A Midsummer Night's Dream. So with this backdrop that I just described, the plot line of A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is 5 interlocking romantic stories, is, depicted quite adapted considerably for the setting.
Yes, and involves art car and the art car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, in fact, that was the impetus for the whole thing. I was hired by some Houstonians, very proud of their city, to direct a short film about art cars, the art car movement, which I knew very little bit about at the time, but I've now been steeped in it significantly for 5 or 6 years. It happens in April, so unfortunately it didn't happen this year. But we intend to shoot the entire film against the backdrop of the real event. And in that way, it is inspired by the 60s radical film called Medium Cool.
Okay, yeah. Medium Cool, very good. Yeah, and it's been interesting seeing with the COVID stuff going on and how it's changed everything, and how we're doing all the filmmaking or film festiving in VR, and I'm it's been interesting because you're as a viewer, you're like, okay, well, how can I see this on my Apple TV, and how can I see this on my iPad and stuff, and it's been somewhat of a challenge, and it looks like Gabe's figured it out. It seems like it's a Vimeo plugin, but it's also the Big Bear Film Festival's using Eventive. And have you been able to watch anything or watch many of the shows?
I haven't. I'll do it right after this interview.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of great features on there, and as well as searching for you and your name, and there's lots of different facets. So it might be something where I'm not sure. I haven't seen Martini Ranch. It might be under Tom Huckabee, but definitely the Tiger Mountain's on there, and it's great what one of the alchemists is doing, isn't it?
Well, if Reach doesn't appear on the Big Bear thing, they can just type in Reach and see it on YouTube. And I think they should also type in the words new edit. They want to be sure, because just like Tiger Mountain, Reach was remade, or remastered at least, by James Cameron, who's very proud of this piece of filmmaking. It's the only short that he's made, I guess, since, or the only non-feature film. He's made some documentaries. Anyway, regardless. Reach has all of the qualities of a Jim Cameron feature, just boiled down into like 8 minutes, and he's very proud of it. I heard that during the making of Titanic, which was very stressful, all of Jim's films are just stressful. They're all, heroic adventures. I think it's not a good day, to Jim if he doesn't somehow risk his entire his life or his fortune. Yeah. So, but he just put everything he had in it. We had 3 cameras, 35mm cameras rolling the whole time, 2 full units.
Wow.
But anyway, so during Titanic, I'm told that, that was a very stressful set, even by Jim Cameron terms. And after a really hard day, when he'd been yelling at people, and people had been yelling back at him, and things were not working or going as fast as they hoped they would, he would lead them all back to the screening room, his inner circle, and they'd watch Reach. And it would mellow him out and mellow everybody else out, and put them in a good mood in order to go back to work the next day.
Wow. Bring the magic back for sure. Jeez. Well, that's awesome. Well, Tom, I won't take too much more of your time. And I'd like everybody that's watching to definitely go out and see the Big Bear Film Festival and check out the Alchemy and Alchemists and the Gold Alchemy site. And man, I can't think of anything else. You got anything to close with, Tom?
Yeah. Well, yes. When they go to goldalchemy.org, they should definitely look at your virtual reality work. It's pretty cool.
Yes, there's a lot of new tech that's coming out, and hopefully we'll bring that to Merge as well.
All right.
Well, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, okay. Tom.